right before you all came on, we were talking about the courses that we've done, and Claire had mentioned that the impact, there were two or three things that really impacted people. And one was a conversation we had about how we are the thinker, how we create our experience via thought. And to the extent that people experience that they experience their life, their experience of life between their 2 ears, to the extent that they understand that, not intellectually, but via insight, it creates a freedom. It creates a level of freedom of thought and freedom of choice. It's very useful if you're in tough situations, when you, as a caretaker, guys, I see myself as a caretaker. I mean, I also am I work with people using the understanding of the principles. I could call myself a coach, or I guess that would be one way of saying what I do. I coach with the understanding of the principles, but also I caretake with the understanding of the principles. And it's hugely helpful, because there's a way in which we can get trapped with the last experience we had. Like maybe they had a bad day, or maybe something happened. Like with my husband, something's always happening. If it isn't, his balance goes, he gets shingles in his eye. I have to take him to the emergency room for one thing or another. Right now he's recovering from COVID. So it's one thing after another with my husband. Now, what's very helpful to me is I don't have to keep thinking about what happened. I don't have to go back into the past and think about what happened. That's hugely helpful. Because if I kept thinking about everything that happened, I would feel psychologically just tangled, tied up, and not present, not in the moment. And I find that being in the moment and being present is an amazing way of being with him, because I get to be with him, as opposed to thinking about the past or thinking about the future. Another way of saying that is being caught up in the past or worrying about the future. When I'm in the moment and not thinking behind or thinking ahead, I can be with him in gratitude. I'm so grateful for him. And that's one way of talking about resiliency. Our resilient nature comes in the moment, when we're not tied up in the past or worried about the future. Now, I've given you a lot of words, but I'm hoping I'm giving you the feeling behind the words and the feeling of how helpful it is to stay in the moment and to understand as best you can that you are creating your experience via thought.
I was chatting with Claire before you came on, Linda, and we were talking about my daughter at college. So she's 19. She just finished like a year of kind of college, which is already quite late. Kids her age are actually going off to university, so she just finished first year in college, and it's assisted. She has like a carer in college helping her access what she needs to access. She wants to study fashion next year. It's an art college, and the college has said that they don't think that she can do fashion next year, which is she's obviously quite disappointed about, because they can't assist her in some way. I don't know the details. The reason I'm bringing this up is for exactly what you're saying. So she or I, could get very into kind of next year, what's going to happen next year, what's going to happen the year after, how long is she going to be in college, go down this whole road of, kind of what's going to happen, how are we going to deal with it, what's she going to study, and the truth is, what you're saying is 100% where we are at. Like, it's just deal with it one step at a time. And I found that so true over the last 19 or so years with everything in her life, in our lives, actually. I just see it more clearly, I think, with her, that, treatment, doctors, plans, what's going to happen, all of that. It's like, you deal with it when you need to deal with it. Just stay present in a good feeling, appreciating the moment and what she's going through right now, and what we're all like kind of living in, which is a good feeling. There's nothing to worry about. Like, she's at college till Thursday, and she's going in till Thursday, as an extra day to just see all her friends. Like, it's fine. It's all fine.
Well, it reminds me of Julian is, those little things that kids would draw on, and that was like a little
Etch-a-sketch
thing, etch-a-sketch.
Yeah.
And then you can either lift it and all the writing goes off, or you can push this lever and it clears it. And that's the way it feels to me, is that I'm always clearing. It's like my mind is an etch-a-sketch, and I'm always flipping up the page and like, okay, that's over, forget about it.
Yeah.
And that little thing, that little trick, it helps immensely. Because otherwise I'd be in the soup of it. I didn't be in the soup of it. And I think that the other thing that Claire mentioned is that, besides people realizing that their thinking creates their experience, and you can etch-a-sketch it, the other thing she said is that what was really helpful is our conversation about looking for deeper feeling. Because I remember my teacher, Sydney Banks, telling me one time that people are filled with deeper feeling. They just have to go look for it within themselves. And honestly, when George had his stroke, and I think some of you who've heard this or attended our classes heard me talk about this, but when he first had his stroke, I was looking for deeper feeling, and all of a sudden hope. And that was the first deeper feeling that came to me, was hope. And we rehabbed through hope. And I didn't care. It's like, I was just hopeful to be in the feeling of hope to support us. I wasn't even really looking that much at results, like, oh, we has to meet this level of functioning or this level of expertise. I wasn't even looking at results or goals. I was just looking to stay in the feeling of hope, to float me and to float George through this experience that was very difficult. Rehabbing from a stroke is it's not easy, but it's so much easier if you do it through a deeper feeling, or the feeling, which is one deeper feeling, is the feeling of hope. Now for me, what I find, the feeling that I live off of, is gratitude. And it's not that I think about, oh, I'm going to create the feeling of hope, or I'm going to create the feeling of gratitude. I find them within me. They appear. And so when Sid told me years and years ago that people are filled with deeper feeling, they just have to go find them, it's true. And I don't know if it's true just because I believe that it's true. I mean, I don't really care why, but it works. It works to find deeper feeling within yourself, to help you through life, to help you through difficult situations.
Yeah, that's so true. For me, the deeper feeling that helps me is the knowledge that I have the capacity to navigate whatever happens to me, good or bad, which I would call resilience. But that's a really, really deeply felt sense, a known sense to me. And so I I don't give up and I don't get downhearted. It's easy to get despondent if you have to face a challenging situation. But I don't go there. I go to, okay, this is how it is. What next? How am I going to navigate this? And it becomes like almost like a challenge, not even a challenge, but a puzzle, or just, I know there's a way through. How am I going to find it? So I get curious about what's possible. That's why I mentioned the whole thing about possibility in the beginning. It's like, what is possible beyond my limitations? If I was talking earlier at a breakout, and I was talking about the fact that people have projected limitation onto me all my life, and I haven't gone with that. I've looked beyond that. I've kind of said, well, okay, that's fine, that's your point of view, but what's possible beyond that? And because of that, I've had this most remarkable life.
I know. I love that, Claire. I love that, living in possibilities, as opposed to, it's living in the thinking of possibilities rather than living in the thinking of limitation.